Well, it's all but certain we're going to see Cam Ward as the first name off the board on Thursday for day one of the 2025 NFL Draft. But how this year's quarterback class shakes out still remains a mystery. Last year's class featured 6 signal callers among the top 12. Well, while that won't be the case this year, still some pro-ready options available for several quarterback-needy teams. We're back joined by former NFL GM Ran Carthon, and I want to take you out the GM seat, and I want to put you in the analyst seat. I want you to talk to me a little bit about those Shadeur Sanders, those Jalen Milrows. I want you to take me on where you believe some of these top 5 quarterbacks are going to land. And I mean, it's a no-brainer. We already talked about this. Cam Ward, we already know, #1 overall pick to the Titans. Why do you think that he can succeed there?
The offensive system and what Brian Callahan allows a quarterback to do within that offensive scheme. If you look at some of the guys he's had throughout his career, the Matthew Staffords, the Peyton Mannings, he's had some really big name guys that he's had to meet at different points in their career, so he'll understand where to meet a young rookie quarterback. And then if you look at the system, it gives you open completions there. You just have to be able to find them.
And then when you look at a guy like Ward, what is it about his game that you think is going to excel most at the pro level?
For one, it starts with his mentality and the type of person he is. He is a bona fide leader. He is a guy. And when he walks into that building, he's going to have the people salivating just because of the way he carries himself. And the one thing that stands out the most about Cam is his quick release. His quick release and the different arm angles in which he can throw the ball from and the different platforms. Reminds you, and I know we're probably not allowed to say this, but from the different arm angles, it looks Mahomes-ish.
Wow, okay.
It really does, in my opinion. Don't know if we're allowed to say that.
Yeah, we are allowed to say that. Trust me, we can talk
because of what
that.
he is. But his quick release and the way the ball comes off of his hand, you can see it on tape, but it's one thing. I was standing directly behind him at the pro day, and you felt the power in which the ball came off of his hand.
That's a big win, I believe, for, I mean, obviously we know where he was going to go, but I think that's something that you look for in a quarterback. You want that big arm. You want that power, especially to be able to stretch the ball downfield. But now a less predictable option, shall we go? #2 quarterback who you had ranked in your top 10 to play in this year's draft class, Shadeur Sanders. Where do you see him landing?
I think he still goes first round. I really do, and I think that's just because of the nature of the position. Now, where in the first? That's the huge question.
Right.
You've seen him mocked from 3 to 9 to 21, and our own Jonathan Jones has him out of the first round, which you can make an argument for. However, I think just because of the nature of the position and some of the guys that we have seen drafted in the first round throughout these last couple years, I still see him as a first round guy, and I think he will go in the first round.
Okay, so if he goes in the first round, what team do you think he lands with? Who can utilize his skill set most?
I think in a perfect scenario, I think the best fit for Shadeur is Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit here.
Okay.
Because people they've criticized him because he's only played for Coach Prime.
Right.
That's been his only coach. So although he's had different offensive coordinators throughout his career, the consistency and the message and the tone for the organization has come from one person. What NFL quarterback-needy team is the model of consistency?
That sounds like Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. We're talking about an organization that has only had 3 head coaches since 1969, and Mike Tomlin is entering his 19th year as the head coach there.
Pittsburgh has been a little bit of the model of consistency, especially when it comes to Mike Tomlin, this team and their playoff appearances. Maybe not necessarily those wins in that regard, but when you say consistency, that's one of the teams that you think of, and I think that makes perfect sense. I know some people have put him a little bit maybe going to the Giants. We've seen some mocks possibly getting him there with the Saints, but maybe a good fit for him and his skill set there, depending on what happens.
And also, the later you go, the better situation you're going to. And look at what Pittsburgh has done to bolster up their wide receiving core this year.
Exactly. So something to keep the eye out on. Okay. So how about Ole Miss's Jackson Dart? I mean, some analysts see him as the 2nd quarterback off the board. Others see him as the 4th. Where do you see him going?
I personally think his best fit is New Orleans. You can make a case for Cleveland, but I think it's New Orleans. And when you break it all down and you look at what Kellen Moore is used to having at his quarterback position, Jackson Dart fits the description. A bigger guy that can spray the ball around the field, that has some mobility to him, that you can mix in some of the quarterback run action. And so you look at one of the things I pay attention to in this time of the year is the pro day circuit and who was in attendance at his pro day. Now, there were multiple teams that were in attendance presence at his pro day. However, the New Orleans Saints were there, and they were represented by their head coach, their offensive coordinator, and their assistant GM, Jeff Ireland, who is seen as their personnel guru. So I don't expect them to take a quarterback at 9, but they also have the 40th pick in the second round. And if you know anything about Mickey Loomis, the GM, since 2007 of him becoming GM, he's traded up 26 times and has never traded back.
Okay.
And so sitting on the 40th pick, they also have 2 third-round picks and 2 fourth-round picks. And so that's plenty of ammo to be able to move up from 40 to anywhere between picks 26 and 32.
So do you think that he has the potential to be that day 1 pick? Because you talk about this 40th pick, but do you think anybody else might be in the market to maybe move up and grab him as well?
And that's why it gives New Orleans even more of a need to get up there, because you have, depending on what Cleveland does at 2, Cleveland's sitting at 33, and then the Giants are below them, depending on what they do at 3. So New Orleans, if they want him, they're going to have to jump those teams and get in there, and they have the ammo with those 2 mid-round picks to do so.
Things are starting to look spooky with this quarterback market. All right, so who do you have as your 4th quarterback off the board?
I'm going with Tyler Shough from Louisville. I think that his best fit is Cleveland, because you're looking at a big man that has a strong arm, who's really good with his eyes to be able to move and manipulate coverages. And to me, it just screams Kevin Stefanski.
Okay.
And I can say he's had 8 visits, 8 top 30 visits, including 1 in Cleveland, and he had a private workout with those guys. So it just screams a Cleveland fit for me.
Okay, I've heard some comparisons to Joe Burrow for Tyler Shough. I've seen some. I'm not the scout. I'm just looking at what I've read. They said that has a little bit in him. But if you think about him going to potentially Cleveland, now I'm going to jump just a little bit topics. Do you see Cleveland opting to go with Travis Hunter with their first pick then?
It really depends. Yes. Yes, okay. Yes, especially if you have a plan to get back in and get a quarterback. And the best thing that they have working in their favor is that they have pick 33. So moving up from 33 again to anywhere between 26 and 32, it doesn't take as much ammo to get up there. So if Andrew Berry is one of the brightest minds in our game, and so I'm pretty sure he's worked every scenario and will know how to get up there and get his quarterback.
All right, certainly a quarterback-needy team. But all right, give me your 5th quarterback on your list. Who is it?
Well, sometimes you just have to let a naysayer know. And so with my 5th pick, I am going with Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. You talk about an explosive guy that is, everyone talks about his running ability, and he has that, and I've never seen a quarterback with that type of acceleration, and you feel it. It was a run against Auburn, I want to say, where he put his foot in the ground and split 2 at the second level, and it just makes your eyes bulge, because you're like, wow, did I really just see that? And then you talk about a guy who has wild throws all over the tape. Jalen Milroe has that. He just has parts of his game that he needs to refine, which will make him a better quarterback.
I have also done a little bit of research, and someone said that maybe Milroe can outrun Lamar Jackson just with his speed that we've seen. And you talked about it, Alabama putting his foot in the ground. But where does this SEC product, do you think, takes his talents to?
I think the best fit for him would be the Giants. And I wouldn't sleep on Las Vegas, and I'll touch on Las Vegas briefly as to why, because who is Las Vegas' new offensive coordinator? Chip Kelly. And these are the type of guys that was there. But I think the best fit for Jalen, for his evolution and his growth, would be the Giants. You know, he's a guy, again, if you think about Brian Daboll and where he came from before the Giants, he was in Buffalo with a young, unproven passer in Josh Allen, who was just as mobile and had all types of wild throws and had the strong arm and can push the ball downfield, but had to refine his game from a standpoint of being able to layer the ball over the middle, learn to take some speed off the ball sometimes to get it there. And these are the same things that he has to work with. And so, again, that situation at the Giants, though, you signed Russell Wilson. You signed Jameis Winston. Having a young Jalen Milroe does not force you to have to play him early, but it's your young quarterback to help you for the future, because Russ is on a 1-year deal, Jameis is on a 2-year deal as a backup, so your QB1 isn't under contract for 2026. Okay,
you have some veterans on the roster right now. Do you think Giants fans, though, panic when that 3rd overall pick rolls by and a quarterback isn't taken, or do you think that right now we're okay with having a guy like James. We're okay having Russell for now.
I think as long as that 3rd overall pick is Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, I think Giants fans will be plenty happy.
Absolutely. As always, Ran Carthon, the insight, the brains, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. I forgot to add the beauty, too. I'm sorry.
Thank you. About time, Kiki.
You got it. Recapping Ran's top 5 quarterbacks in this draft, he's got Cam Ward. Obviously, we all know that one. Shadeur Sanders, consistency is the word that he used. And when you think of consistency, you think of what they got going on out in Pittsburgh. Jackson Dart to the Saints. Tyler Shough, maybe not that first pick for the Browns, but they do have that 40th pick and can move up and grab their guy. And Jalen Milroe, the speedy quarterback, heading to New York.